people ask because I have an acting background. I'm an improviser. I have my own one-person show. I do all this stuff, and I've done commercials in the past, and it pays well, and I just didn't enjoy it. And I realized like the reason I'll never be a successful actor is I can never act as excited about Arby's roast beef as the guy who does the voiceovers in those commercials. Just like or like people who are just like oh, the McRib is back, and they like run off and they're like McRib, McRib, and I'm just like, I mean,
Well, you know what?
I'll
You
eat
know
a
what
McRib, but who cares?
you know what McRib stands for? It's an acronym.
Yeah, McDonald's
My
rib.
Chemical Romance is back.
Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to Girl Dick with Ted Cruz, starring Lilith Electra Zarling, Amanda Bonanza, and esteemed Republican Senator from the great state of Texas, your host, Ted Theodore Cruz.
I've had long hair before, but this is definitely the longest my hair has ever been.
Yeah,
How to get rid of this. And in the last like 2-3 months, like hair's been getting everywhere. Like it's on my arms and it's like in my like in my sink.
you ever get the one where it gets in your mouth and you're trying to scrape it up, but you can't tell from where in your head it's originating. So you're like clawing at your face and you can't get the one strand. Oh,
okay, here's a wild one.
Yeah.
Have you ever had the one that's like all the way up your ass? you just pull out this long hair that's just like entirely inside of your asshole. And, like, have you never had that?
I've had them wrapped around my girl dick. That's always weird. You're just like,
yeah, just like just like pulling it out, just like, why? How did this happen?
Yeah. And for me, it's weird because I've had my hair this long before, but it was before. So I had like the old bald pirate look where it was like almost completely bald on top with long hair, and now that it's growing back, it's kind of like filling in. So it's
God, hormones are fucking magic. Estrogen's so good. Well, your hair grows back. Your hair grows back.
Well, and 2 hair replacement surgeries.
So, yeah, okay, fine.
But there were parts that grew back by themselves, but it was pretty far gone.
I was just at the point, like right before I started, I was just at the point where my hairline was starting to seriously recede. Yeah. And like I got there just in time. It's like, okay, fix it. No, fix it. Because like I gotta say, like it's like and like of course for like the people out there like that are like I feel bad for like the women that like did like had really bad male pattern baldness and like it's just like yeah, it's like you gotta wear wigs and stuff, and it's like dysphoria is bad enough in and of itself, and it's just gonna add that to the mix. So
that's where I was, and there was nothing worse than like living in the deep south and being like, well, it's July. Am I going to slap a wig on to go to the grocery store and try to figure out what to do?
Yes, you are.
Actually, became a big proponent of hats.
And, yeah, I'll bet. Yeah.
Yeah, letting the hair grow long and throwing a hat on. But honestly, like right now, I think part of it, and my hairline is still pretty high. Even before.
But it's like, it's not like what's the word for it? Where it's not like a point where like it's not anything you're noticing unless you're looking for it. Like
I'm always looking for it, so I guess I'm always.
Well, you are, but like I'm talking like the general public, like in terms of like any sort of like passability kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it's just like it's like, and of course, like you don't have to pass; it's not a requirement. But like, yeah, like but like I don't know, like I want to. I just like I really do. Like I don't know.
For me,
that whole
just,
subject. Yeah.
It's to me, it's just about being happy with where I'm at and who I am. So,
yeah.
Other people, even if you are 100% passing, they're gonna hate you. So who cares what they?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But it's more for me because it's less about like for me, it's less like I'm trying to like get someplace, but for me it's just I don't want to I don't want to draw attention to it because I don't want to deal with the ramifications of it. Like, it's like on the days that I pass, like, those are the days that when I go out and navigate the world, that like I get treated normally. Like, and that's what's good about it. Like, it's like, I'm not doing it because like, it's like, oh, because I want to like uphold some fun bullshit beauty standard or anything like that. Like, but it is like one of those things where it's like, because like, I mean, I'm sure you've noticed, but like, when people know you're trans, they treat you differently. And by differently, I mean shitty. They there's something about like when someone knows you're trans, like they feel like they automatically, like it unlocks a box that says you may ask the most horrific questions ever. Like, it's like all politeness just goes away, like all it's social like, norms. Decorum, it's like, oh, you're trans, like tell me about your genitals. It's like I'm sorry, like I'm just trying to buy this apple. Like, it's like I'm in the grocery store. Like, yeah, it's like tell me about your yeah. It's like, oh wow, how about that? Like, and they just ask you the most intimate, like personal questions, having just like not even knowing your name. Like, it's terrible, and I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah, who wants to deal with that? Just ask them right back. Like, what's your pussy like? Lady?
Well, I mean, that's my move. Like, I mean, that's my move for all things. Is just like flip it right back on it. It's just like, it's like, oh, you know, mine are fine. How's yours? Like, why don't you tell me about your genitals? So, you know, it's like when they misgender you, just misgender them right back. There you go. Because that's the people that complain about, the people that complain about like, oh, like I fucking hate pronouns, like those are the people that are whose preferred pronouns are sacrosanct. Like, he's misgendered them. Ooh, they don't like it one bit.
My pronouns are Jesus saves.
Oh, thank God for that.
You mean thank Jesus? Wait, the real Jesus or you, because your pronoun is Jesus? I'm confused already. Welcome to the Girl Dick with Ted Cruz, who is unfortunately, Amanda, I don't know if you heard, Ted's not going to make it today.
Yeah, I got the memo.
Yeah.
At least he's kind enough to send us notes.
That is like, nice, you know.
I don't know about you. Do you get the handwritten like feather pen like on a scroll that I do? That's what I get. Delivered by a man on a horse.
What? No, I just get a text. Like, this week's text was like, I'm not gonna make it at an Arby's with Herschel Walker. I don't even know.
See?
Yeah.
See, I get like a man, like a man wearing a hat with a feather in it. Yeah. Like, and comes and he rides up on a horse. He comes to me, rings my doorbell. He's like, message for Amanda Van Wager. And he like rolls it down like, unfortunately, esteemed Senator Ted Cruz will not be able to make it today. And then he hands me the scroll, and and it's on parchment paper, and it's like, it's very, 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 very classy.
Sticking with his Tea Party roots, very Paul Revere of him.
Yeah. Man. Usually the men that bring it have wooden teeth.
Oh, they have American healthcare plan. I mean,
I'm afraid I cannot see a dentist. That's why this country is number one.
I mean, yeah.
Who decided that fucking teeth were separate from your medicine? Like they're luxury bones that only the rich can afford. Your teeth are luxury bones. Like, they cost extra. Like,
oh, no.
It's like, your teeth and your eyes, like, they're separate for some reason.
Like, you're at your doctor. Your doctor's like, I take care of everything from here down and from here up. If it's in here, and then even this little spot here, I'll take care of. But if
it's just like, we're getting like, it's just like,
it's a whole.
It was like, I don't understand that.
Sorry.
I guess it's like whatever the skin covers. Oh, America. America.
Like, I don't want to get too far off our mission of helping trans people, but it just, like it blows my mind the thought process where it's just like, don't you want to live in a country where everyone is their healthiest and everyone is their smartest and everyone's doing the best that they can in their life? I never understood this idea that some people have to be punished, that America's best if like there are just some people who have chronic illness who are never going to get better. And there are some people who never got the education they needed, are never going to contribute fully to society. It's just like, what if everyone who had the smarts to be a doctor had the ability to become a doctor? What if everyone was operating at full physical strength and it's just like, nah, the system works just the way it is. Like,
hang on. I have to just report you to the FBI.
Oh, you're gonna make a note that I said something smart.
No, we're just gonna have you scooped right up by the CIA for that one.
Yeah. Like, no, that's socialism. It's like,
that's some communist shit there. Slow down there, Peter Engels. They don't even know who that is. Look out.
Wasn't he the bassist for the Monkees?
Wait, no. Wait,
yeah,
that's not right. Was it Peter Engels? Did I get it right?
That was Peter Tork. Was
Pete Best.
Pete Best was the first drummer for the Beatles.
He was the bass player for the Monkees. The first drummer for. I'm pretty sure the first drummer for the Beatles was Mick Fleetwood.
No, Mick Fleetwood was the guy who started McDonald's. That's why it's a Big Mick.
The Fleetwood Mac
with fries. There's just like, you can go back and like Jason Alexander, who was on Seinfeld. There's like a commercial from him in the 80s for McDonald's, and he's just like,
I remember that.
Skipping and dancing about, I think, McDLT or something.
The McDLT, that was Jason. I remember that was like the McDonald's hamburger was like, it's cold on one side, it's hot on the other. Yeah, and they thought it was like going to be a
huge
monstrosity. Just monstrosity. It's just so bad. Like, the white styrofoam of the 80s. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like, you know what? I hate it. I get that burger, my tomatoes are boiling hot. It's disgusting.
It's like, nothing's hot on a burger at McDonald's.
It's all just lukewarm.
Yeah, everything's lukewarm.
Have you ever bit anything at McDonald's and been like, oh, I burned myself? Like maybe the apple pie.
Coffee, yeah.
And the coffee. Yeah.
But like, yeah, I do bite my coffee.
Oh yeah, take a big bite of coffee.
Take a big fucking bite out of that coffee. It's like just bite the side of the cup like a fucking apple.
But there are like thousands of 20-year-old trans girls who are just chomping at the bit for us to give them some advice. They're just like, what the fuck is a Jason Alexander?
What's a
like they're already mad enough that Ted didn't make it. Yeah, they already mad about that.
I know. Ted's he's so important. Yeah, no, he'll be here next week. Yeah, he's a busy guy. He's got he's out spreading freedom like Johnny Appleseed.
Johnny Freedom Seed.
I don't know why that's so gross.
Yeah, I think anything seed attached to Ted Cruz is just gonna give you a bad mental picture /
yeah, anything. Like,
yeah.
Did you see the picture that I sent that like has him like where he's like giving some speech somewhere, but he's got fucking a watch on each arm. He's got 2 watches like a psychopath. Like, it's just like, what are you doing, Ted? Why are you wearing?
One is my real watch, and the other one's my Apple Watch.
It's like, but like you just like. I don't understand it. The only thing I could like think of was like, there's 2 things. Like, he thought it was cool because he's Ted Cruz. Like, the other thing is that like he was wearing one watch, but it kept pulling him to the side all the time, and he was just walking in circles. He's like, I need like a ballast.
Need something to pull me back. Oh.
Yeah, I was fucking with his navigation.
He's like, you ever put a harness on a cat and the cat can't move and just flops over? That's what Ted's like with one watch.
With one watch, he's dead to the world. He's useless.
Yeah, he's
like, I can't campaign with just one watch. I can't do it.
Yeah.
That's my Ted Cruz. How'd I do?
That's really good.
Hi, I'm Ted Cruz. I can't come here. Just one watch.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Should we
Should we hop on in?
Should we do the show? Should we do the show? Is this a show?
We could just keep doing this. I'm sure people would appreciate it.
We gotta do what we came here for.
I got this first one, and I feel like
it
maybe is kind of a slam dunk. But I think just the fact that someone answered it or asked it means that, we should address it. And this is Reddit, and it was just person says, was I in the wrong for wearing my trans pin? I was waiting outside my classroom today, and this boy in my year, who I never talked to, by the way, came up to me and straight up interrogated me with, "Are you a guy? Are you a girl? That's a transgender badge, isn't it? What are you? So you do not have a gender?" All these questions along those lines. I answered with really vague answers like, "I don't know, and sure, I'm not out yet, and I don't necessarily like it when someone just comes up and asks me about my gender identity, etc. Should I take my pin off? Did I have it coming?" No.
I think this is less of a slam dunk than you think. I think this is a really good question.
I think it is a good question, but I also think it goes back to something we always say is you're not responsible for how people react to you. I think you're free to wear that pin, and that's not your fault. But I think what you're going to say is you're going to expect. I'll let you answer for yourself. I'm going to let you just answer.
In fact, why don't you just tell me what I'm going to say? Because I think you're exactly right. I want to hear you.
We always say.
I want to hear you answer as Amanda. Oh my God! You made me into the Hamburglar.
Robble.
Why?
Well, this is a combination of me trying to do an impersonation and having a sore throat to begin with. So, I think what you're going to say is you're not responsible for how people react, and if you're going to put yourself out there, getting those reactions is part of that, and you're not in the wrong, and you should have to apologize, but you should be ready to deal with that. I think one thing I've read stuff where people who were just allies, a guy wore a he/him pin as an ally, and someone came up and was just like, "You're never going to be a real guy, ma'am," and he's just like, "I'm not transgender. I'm just wearing this pin for support," So those idiots are going to out themselves to you. You're not in the wrong, but you just have to be prepared for that, I'm not taking that person's side, but I'm saying if you're going to wear a trans pin, we live in the age where being rude is en vogue, apparently. So, unfortunately, that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean that's a good chunk of what I was going to say. I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit because. Yeah, it's not only that, because that's the thing is your initial point is of course correct. You're in the right to wear whatever you want, because that's you can do whatever you want. You may express you're not wrong. However, there is baggage that comes with advertising your transness, and especially if you're not out yet. So if that's not something if those aren't things you want to invite into your life, I'm not saying don't wear it, but what I am saying is consider that when you fly the flag, when you wear a he/him pin or she, hers, or they, them, or whatever you're doing, that is an invite for people to ask questions, whether you want it to or whether you want that to be or not. I think there's a lot of people out there that think the pronoun pins will help some people with their not misgender them, and that is true. That will help the people that care and the people that are, and which is probably realistically most people, but it also invites those other people that are that are the haters, and that's just part of being trans. You're just gonna get that. But if you're not out yet, that's the whole thing is there's no wrong way to live your life. Maybe wearing a trans flag pin, even being closeted trans, is well, maybe that's just the little peck on the egg that you need, that maybe that those things that come in will help you come out. Like, it's like it's hard to say. Like, no one knows no one can answer that, because only you know, like, because it's your life. And I can say personally, like, I'm very open about being trans. I don't advertise it. I don't fly the flags. Like, I don't. If it comes up, I'll chime in. If someone asks, I'll answer.
Yeah.
Like, if it's an appropriate thing for a situation, like, I won't shy away from it, and I'm not embarrassed about it in any way. However, I don't go out of my way to let strangers know that I'm transgender. And the reason that I don't do that isn't because, like, I'm afraid. It's because I don't want to deal with that exact thing. I'm not. I just don't want to deal with it. I just want to navigate through life and and exist and be treated like any other, like a cis person, I guess. I mean, but it's just like the reality, and the sad reality of it is people that when there's something about being trans that, like, makes cis people forget all their politeness. It's like being trans makes cis people think they have a license to ask you the most invasive, rude questions and just be mean to you, just because. Like, and I don't know why, but it's clearly the case. It is how it is. In not always, and it's not all people,
right?
But it is gonna happen. Like, and it's gonna probably happen. You're not gonna avoid it. Like, if you're trans, you're gonna deal with transphobes. That's just like, it's just part of life.
And I would
say, go on.
I was gonna say, in this situation where you're not out yet, all you have to do is say, I support trans people.
Yeah, that's it.
And they're gonna take. And I for one, like, I have like one of those little garden flags out front of the house that has the rainbow trans inclusivity flag hanging, and I hang that from probably hang that until mid-November, when I switched out for my Milwaukee Bucks flag for basketball season, and then when the Bucks lose in the playoffs, I'll switch it back. And I live.
Any good?
The Bucks are amazing. Are you kidding?
I haven't watched professional basketball in like
basketball is the only sport
25 years.
Basketball is the only sport that I still follow. I love basketball.
See, right now, well, I'm not going to go into sports.
Let's not go into sports. No one wants to hear about that. But if you ever want to talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo, hit me up, ladies and gentlemen, and babies, and we'll talk about it. But
that's a good one. I haven't heard that one before.
Babies, yeah.
I like that.
My hairstylist was transitioning, and I was just looking for like, I always like having like energetic names.
I found that specific one has been missing.
Yeah, babies.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. Cool. Maybe we'll get that on a sticker for people. They can get a but I'm in a fairly conservative area, one of those areas in like the rural South, where I don't even know if a Democrat runs for like state legislator or anything. I haven't had any problems.
Aren't you in Richmond?
No. I moved like 40 minutes south of Richmond.
Okay, yeah, that's that'll do it.
Yeah, so
that'll do it for real.
And I also find, and obviously, everything I say, and I do this too, is like, you have to read your situation. You have to do what's safest and best for you.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the blowhards on TV, most people are not like that. I don't think anyone's ever going to come up to me and say anything, and if they do, I'll just deal with it when that happens. But I'm going to live my life, and all you can do is like, you don't owe that person an answer. You don't owe anyone an answer. Someone asks that trans pride flag, like, yep. What does that mean? It's like, I mean, that's for trans people. And if they continue asking, you're just like, I don't have to answer these questions.
I don't want to talk to you.
I don't want
Works alarmingly well.
Yeah, I do not.
It might get you in trouble, but if it gets to that point, you're in trouble anyway.
And you'll get people who are just like, well, no, you should take time to, these people don't want to be educated. You know, that's why I don't get into
Yeah,
arguments
they're looking
online.
for a fight. They're not going to ever learn anything.
They're not looking to be educated or anything. It's just like all you could do is, you know, here's the thing: is there are people who are in the middle, and you don't have to convince everyone to be on your side. You just have to get the people in the middle to understand who you are and what you're about. And you don't have to spend a ton of time educating them, but just being your best person and being a good person is all you can do. But you don't know anything to people who are just looking to fight because they're not looking to be educated. They're looking to just make your life miserable.
No, they fight against education. They hate
Oh, they
education
hate that.
in every sense. Like
Hate it.
they hate books, they hate school, they hate college, they hate teachers. Like they just hate everything about education. They hate it.
And it's
They
so
like,
weird that all the people they're following, like Ted Cruz, our friend Ted Cruz, like is a Harvard educated lawyer.
yeah,
And it's
yeah, he
like,
sure
what
went to
is it?
college, didn't he?
Yeah, he sure did. Masturbated a lot,
Yeah.
according to his roommate.
I mean, I gotta bag on Ted for that. There's so many things to give Ted Cruz shit for. It's like, I masturbate just like Ted Cruz.
I wouldn't say just like Ted Cruz.
No, I masturbate exactly like him. I watch videos.
With the sandpaper and everything?
I know. I get my technique down and just like it's like there's a whole wiki how.
Uh, uh. So you're not wrong to wear your trans pin.
Nope.
You know,
No, you're not.
just like I said,
But there are consequences to it,
everyone
and
should
be
be
prepared for them.
Yeah, but also don't let it get you down. What do you care what
Absolutely not. Do whatever you want.
If we cared
There
what
you
Ted
go.
Cruz, if we cared what Ted Cruz thought, we definitely wouldn't have this podcast called "Girl Dick with Ted Cruz."
I care what Ted Cruz thinks. He's my friend.
You're such a liar. You're such a liar.
Me and Ted are like this.
Me and Ted are like this. This is me way over here. But yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. You ready for another question?
You was that? Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a good one.
I said yeah, but I was wrong about saying it because I'm not ready.
You're not ready? That's cool. You like to talk about how
I just said no. I just need to take a breath. I was like, okay, I'm ready.
Edit out this part where I'm coughing.
I will. Hang on.
Thank you. No one must
Okay,
no one must ever know that I'm sick.
No one must know my glasses fell in the toilet.
Simpsons did it. All right.
Every time they're so good.
There's gonna be a great question off. There's gonna be a great question right off the top, and then I'm gonna start reading what the person write, and it's gonna be like, oh, all right, you ready?
Yeah.
This is a great question. Does the grief from not transitioning earlier in life ever go away? Great question. Their comment underneath. She goes, "Hi everyone. I'm 26, trans femme. Just recently accepted myself as trans. I know there are older trans people here, so they probably look at me and say, 'You're so young. I wish I had transitioned at your age,' which I understand. From a physical perspective, I'm already past the permanent changes from male puberty. Grieving what I could have been has been hard as I come to terms with my identity. I know I can't go back in time, and I have to make the most of things going forward, but I still feel that grief. Does this ever go away?"
It's a great question.
It is a great question, but she's right. As soon as I was like, I'm 26, and I'm like, stop.
But I mean, 26 is, that's 8 years after puberty. It is a long time.
It is a long time.
And it is long enough. Like, I mean, that's the thing is ideally you transition before you go through your first puberty. That's the ideal time.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why it's especially why. I mean, but that's what everyone wants, and there are some people that are able to do that.
Yeah.
But to answer that question bluntly, no, it never does go away. Like it never does.
I'm gonna counterpoint that. I'm like, it really depends on your perspective. I mean, I did not transition until I was 47. And I spent a lot of the first few years, man, like just holding on to that, like wishing and hoping. But really, what helped me a lot was recognizing that my life is my own, that I can't, it's impossible to go back and change that. And all you can do is make sure that every day is going to be better from here on out. You know, I like I said, I was 47 when I transitioned. Every year since then has been better than the year before. And it
Yeah,
surprises me
for
because there were
sure.
years I was like, there's no way. 2018, man, I drove cross country. I went to Ireland. I opened up a new show. I traveled the country. I had a goal of doing a show out of state every month for the full year, and I did that. And
That's wild.
I was
That's
like, there's
awesome.
no way 2018, this is the best my life's ever been. In 2019, I bought a house and uh, quit the job I hated. Thought, this is it. This is it. The next year, like I went through coaching. I just completely changed my life, got a new job. So that's the thing is like, you can't look back and you're not going to change those 8 years. But what you can do is you can make sure that everything going forward is amazing. And you know, I know we don't want to talk too much sports, but one of my best philosophies I ever heard was from a pitcher who's like, his approach was the future is perfect. You know, everything I do from here on out is perfect. Does that mean everything's going to work out the way you want? It's like, no, but the whole thing is not to hold on to the mistakes of your past and realize that what you can control is what happens next. And
Was
so,
that was that pitcher Spinoza? Because
no, it's all
that's also
Hershciser.
Spinozan philosophy.
That's all Hershciser. Who it probably got it from that. But
It's
yeah,
probably
that's the
a
thing.
deep, yeah, probably
Yeah,
a hardcore Spinozan. Yeah.
I wouldn't surprise me. He's one of those types of guys. But I would say that, like, really, like, yeah, we all wish we could have done that. Um, but I also think, I mean, honestly, living in Milwaukee and transitioning in 1988, was I ready for that?
Yeah.
The city certainly wouldn't have been ready for it. I don't know if my
I've got a
school would
lot
have
to
been
say
ready for
about
it.
that.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. But that's really it's like, where are you now? And realize that it's all it's all growth. It's all better from here on out. How do you make your life what you want it to be from here on out? Because that's what you have to deal with. And yeah, it sucks. I just try not to think about it. And I know it's tough. I know it's tough. It's tough when I see stuff like this, like where you're like, I'm 26. Is it too late for me? And I'm like, oh my God, what did I do with my life? But it really is just a matter of like making the most of what you're doing now. And you're going to be
So a couple
fabulous.
things.
Your
Yeah.
life's going to be amazing.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it just does. I have so much to pile on top of that because
Yeah.
I mean, but before I say like, I you're absolutely right, Lilith. You 100%. I agree with you.
Oh,
Like just to add to that, like
yeah.
so when I said what I said initially about like, no, it never goes away. I mean that in the sense, like if anyone, I don't know if you ever have, but I used to smoke cigarettes. And I mean, among other things, but cigarettes primarily is what I'm talking about. And I quit smoking about like, yeah, I don't know, a year and a half ago, long
Yeah.
enough where I'm pretty sure I'm done smoking. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to take up smoking again. But not a day goes by that I don't think about it. Like I always want a cigarette, and
Yeah.
that's gonna stick with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And the reason that I know that is because my grandmother quit smoking in 1951, and she's told me that like in the aughts, like she's like, yeah, I want a cigarette every day. I've wanted a cigarette every day since I quit. Like, and it's just like, all right, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
And it's not, but to Lilith's point, like it never goes away, but it is entirely about it does get less bad with time.
Mhm.
It's like if you think about it, like if you go through a bad breakup or a divorce or something, it's like that first year it's fucking terrible, and like you're just miserable and you're sad and you cry and you're just like, how like does this ever get better? But it does get better, but it's like eventually it gets to the point where you just kind of don't think about it. But like it's still always kind of there, and but like I mean so much, because also then there's the part of like what Lila said about like your attitude that's so important, because like that idea of like looking back and having regret, like humans are complicated and emotions are complicated, and we all have them. And there's certain emotions that are like kind of been designated as like negative emotions, like fear or jealousy or sadness or despair or fear, or I think that was the first thing I saw, anger. But what I've found is like even those emotions that have like are typically thought of as negative emotions, they have positive attributes to them. Like, for example, fear heightens your sense of awareness and like it makes you alert to your surroundings. So like the reason you get scared is so you get that heightened sense of awareness so you can avoid peril. And you can be ready for it. You can brace for it. Like anger incites action. When you're angry, you want to do stuff, whether that's punch somebody or stab somebody, but you want to actually do things. Anger is the biggest motivator I've ever seen. Sadness, like it yields beauty. It makes you want to create pretty things and make pretty things. So like, I mean, all of these emotions have like positive aspects too, except regret. I can't think of a single positive thing that comes with regret. Like you, because of what Lilith said, like, and what Oral Hershiser said is like, you can't change the past. You cannot do it. You can talk about, and you can be like, oh, like I'm it's so late in life. If only I had transitioned earlier. We all think that. Every one of us thinks that. We all think about the things, especially early on. Like you think about all the things you miss. Like I didn't start transitioning. I was 41, and like, and so like I missed out on a whole lot of things. Lilith and I both did, and we both grew up in Milwaukee. Like and like, yeah, Milwaukee in the 80s was not a safe time. So I can be like, well, if only I had a transition, you know, when before puberty or even earlier or whenever. There's a real like tangible chance that I may not have survived. Like, yeah, and you can't say how things would have went, just like you can't say how things are going to go. You can have a pretty good guess, but it's never accurate. And like, you don't know. And that whole, like, you know, that whole Oral Hershiser thing about the future is perfect. Like, I mean, that is initially actually Spinozan theory. And like I'm a proponent of that school of philosophy as well. Like, is the idea that like, so it's not so much that there's like fate, but like I think it's a Spinozan quote. I'm probably going to bastardize it a little bit, but like something along the lines of like, the future is inherently perfect because it works out the only way it can. Yeah. Like if the future could be any other way, it would be. And like, that's like, if you think about it like that, it's like, it's not like you're locked into a fate or anything, because that's somewhat defeatist. But what it is thinking is like, it's like we have our perception of time, like from the perspective of being humans that are locked into it in a linear thing. But like, if anyone that knows even the little bit about quantum theory or like or quantum physics, which is, you know, it's getting a little deep, but like that's not how time works. Like, right. and then it is an even time. Time is space time. They're the same thing. Space and time are the same thing. So it gets very confusing, but because it contradicts with our perception of what time is, because we have our human perception, just the way our brains work and our navigating our meat shield through all of this nonsense. Like, but like, I feel like I strayed from the point a little bit.
It's all right. You're right there.
But that's the thing is like, yes, it is hard, and it's something we all have to deal with. Yeah. Like, all trans people have to regret. Like, and it's and I still have days. Like, I mean, I actively practice not doing that. Yeah. But I'd be absolutely lying to you if I said I didn't have those days when I think about it and I cry. Yeah. I do. I sit and I think about like, oh fuck, like if only I was like, and there's like, everyone has like, I have certain triggers that trigger these things for me. Like if I see like certain things like that I really regret missing out on, like prom and stuff like that, and
Oh,
shit
yeah.
like that. It's like when I see someone like enjoying that or like doing that, I'm not upset, but I just get so envious, and I think about like, well, what if I could have done that? What if I could have like been there? It's like and like I'll never know. Like the thing that kills me is like I was a musician. I was like a touring semi-pro like musician, did the whole thing, went on tour, played shows, like put out albums, like did the thing. Like we were never famous or anything, like we never made any money, but we did it. And to the degree that I was a rock star. And I couldn't fully enjoy it. Like I did enjoy it, but I knew like I would have been so much better at it had I been able to been myself, had I been able to be be me. And like it's now that I'm in my 40s, I don't want to do that anymore. It's too late for me. Like it's like I could technically still do it, but it's just not there. There's a million reasons of why I don't.
Yeah.
But like that's a big one for me. It's like I think about like if I was back 22 again, 22, 20, 26, like the question, if I was 26 again in this form, like fuck, I couldn't be stopped. Like I accomplished a lot despite my handicap. Like and it was a huge handicap. Being a closeted trans person is a tremendous life handicap. And oh, go on.
I was gonna say, like, one thing you said, like who I am now, it's like I've done more in every year since I've transitioned than I did my entire life before that. And that's just the truth, is like you start thinking clearly. I think one thing that's great about
so
transitioning,
many things, that
so often it's the first thing that I did that was for me that I wanted to do. And it opened up this door to me that I can live my life on my terms and do the things I want to do. And once you start living your life like that, then things start happening for you. And, you learn to, I think there's like people talk about risk, and it's like, there's no right or wrong. You're going to do what you want to do, and you should do the thing that you want and not what someone else's want. And if it doesn't work, you'll deal with the consequences. You'll make that moment, the next moment's perfect, And I was talking about, like, my regret mostly is I came out in 2015 and didn't start hormones until 2018. So I had these 3 years, like when I first started seeing my therapist.
That's a long time.
Well, she asked me, she was like, do you want? And I was like, I think I'm too old for that. I don't want to do it. And what happened is I just started dressing, a couple times a month. I'd perform, I'd just go out. And there's just this confidence that came out with me with being myself. And I realized that, I had to do it. And so like, late 2017 is when I decided to do hormones, and then by the time I got my appointment and stuff, it was early 2018 by the time I started. But it really is like,
it takes a minute.
There was some regret there, but it's also just like, you know what, I did it, I started it, my life's been fantastic, and like
worked out the only way it could.
It's the only way it could work out,
And that's the thing about it is I mean, I didn't know that. Like your story is so dramatically different from mine, because mine was the exact opposite. Like I was like, I made like, because I knew, I've always known. I was never I was never self-delusional. Yeah, I was like, and I didn't even mean that in a negative way. There's people that just don't figure it out till way later. Because it's confusing and it's hard to parse. Like and so I didn't figure it out till way later, or I figured it out right away. But I knew, like, since I was before I knew how to use a toilet properly, I knew, like, and so, and there was never a day that went by that I wasn't sure of it. Like it was like that. You have your like you're like, well, maybe that's not quite that, but like I always knew, and but. I was scared. Like it was the times they weren't. It wasn't a welcoming time, and it's never a welcoming time. But it's less scary. Well, maybe not right now. Like that's the thing, is like the window that between 2015 and like 2020 was like this window where it was kind of safe, and it's like 2020 came. I was like, oh shit, now it's getting kind of bad again. But but it's still better than it was before. Like it's way better. Like before 2015, like no one gave a fuck about pronouns, and no one cared, and like no one was gonna be respectful. And like at least now, like there's enough awareness out in the world that like, you know, people that give two shits, like there are allies. Like allies weren't a thing. Like before 2015, they didn't exist. It was just us. And it was scary to look out through the window, through my egg, and like see outside and see how people were treated that did what I wanted to do, and like what happened to them. And all your fears are reinforced because they got all the things that you're afraid are going to happen to you happen to all of them. And it was just like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. So I put it off as long as I could. But like when I finally did, like I also got real lucky because I got a real good doctor, and I stumbled onto a real good therapist that led me to a real good doctor. And like that's not what trans people usually get either. That's a whole big different discussion. But I got a real good doctor that like right away, that's what I went to see her for. And like, and she asked me, she's like, well, when, like, what are you thinking? When, how soon would you want to start HRT? It's like, do you want to start HRT? It's like, oh yeah, I do. And she's like, well, how soon would you want to start? And I was like, I don't know, 20 years ago. Right? She was like, oh, okay. I was like, and then so she did. She got the ball rolling, and you have to get blood tests and stuff because you know they have to get a good doctor will do all that stuff. So you can't get it right away. But as far as that goes, I had my blood test in 2 weeks, and I was on HRT in 3 from when I went to see my doctor.
Actually, I got it from my doctor that day. Just like low dose. They're like, we're gonna start you on this low dose. We're gonna take your blood, and you just see them every 3 months, and they take blood and they just track your process, stuff like that. But
yeah, I didn't get mine that day. I got my first blood test results, and that I got the blood test that day, and then that came 2 weeks later, and then I went to see her, and then I
took my first dose of estrogen on stage.
Wow.
I was doing a Pride show at
I'm sure that went over great.
At Virginia Tech. It was like 3 hours from where I was, me and 2 other trans comics. And so I got my prescription, and we headed and I was like, I'm just gonna take it on stage, and I did. And I put it in my mouth, and I let it melt, and I just looked at the audience and was like, I don't feel anything. This is garbage.
It's not that kind of drug.
I don't feel anything. No, it was great. Yeah, and it went over.
Oh, that's great. That's good.
But I think, you know what, I feel like while we're both telling these stories, because we kind of touch on these things with ourselves each time, I think they're 2 very special episodes we have to do where we just talk about, you know, like, let's just be, if you want to, I always talk about myself, but just be open up, talk about how we got to where we are today. And I think
I'm super down to have that.
I think both of us are people who like knew at a very young age. Unfortunately, it was at a time where like that wasn't a thing. Like there were no famous trans people really that you would look up to.
I knew a handful. I knew about Christine Jorgensen, and I knew about Wendy Carlos.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's who I knew.
Yeah.
Like those are the only 2.
But yeah, so you know, I'd say for this person and for all people who are worried about starting to like really focus on the future and focus on where you're headed, and really live in the joy of the moment, and notice the changes that are going on, because that's really what you're looking for. And there's so much joy in just getting to live the life you want, and focus on that instead of on, you know, what you didn't get to do at the time.
And it gets just for those that aren't out or haven't started yet, or are in the closet a little bit, or aware of it, or questioning or whatever, like know this, that like no matter what happens, if you even think you want HRT, you definitely want it, and it definitely fixes everything. Like it's like it is.
We are not doctors. We cannot make those.
No, we're not. I'm not. Well, I mean, I'm a doctor of cool.
Okay.
They call me Doc Shades.
I would say that I would to kind of shine that part up yet is, don't make decisions based on that you're going to regret it. Like when you are ready, you are ready.
When you're ready, and you'll get there.
And you'll get there. And don't worry about that. Like we talked about this, I think, in a previous episode, where it's like, what your situation is unique to you, and you
Yeah.
might have to live with people who aren't accepting until you're 18, or you might have circumstances you can't work around, and that's unfortunate, but it's also fine. And when you're ready and when it's safe for you, you can come out and know that the future is waiting for you. And when you're there,
It
that's when you
does
feel
make
better.
everything so much better. It's when you get there, but like, oh my God, it's so many things just get better, and pretty quickly too. Because the first thing it does is it changes your brain around. That's the first thing. That was I wasn't ready for that. They call it mood swings.
Oh my
Is what
God,
the
this is
doctors call it.
like a whole episode just
This is a whole episode.
a whole episode of
We'll talk about this.
the
Maybe we'll
alignment.
do a post. Maybe we'll do a post game.
It feels like it's the first time my mind was
Join our
aligned with my
Patreon.
body.
Subscribe to our Patreon.
And you get to watch all the girl dick pullouts. That's
Get
the
for the
stuff that
post.
doesn't
Yeah.
make it into the full episode. That was mine. I came up with that, and I think it's
as all Lilith. As all Lilith. I feel good. I feel good about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel like we can wrap up this episode?
I think we can.
All right. Should we take a moment while I go into my NPR voice?
I think we should go into the M.C.R.I.B voice.
Okay. This has been Girl Dick with Ted Cruz. Please hit the bell icon and like and subscribe and all that stuff. And our Patreon and our website are all kind of in motion right now. So check those out. And thanks for joining us. And I'll stop saying, I'm just going to redo that. This has been The Girl Dick with Ted Cruz. I'm Lilith Darling. She's been Amanda Bonanza. Thank you for joining us.
Did you just say Lilith Darling?
I didn't say Lilith Darling, but now I got to redo it because
but that's what I heard.
Lilith Darling.
I heard Lilith Darling.
I mean, that's also acceptable. Someone wants to call me darling.
It's really pretty. Nice. It's pretty adorable.
Adorable. I was going to change my last name, and someone's like, "You can't. Your last name's too amazing."
Your last name is pretty fucking good. Yeah.
All right. So, NPR voice one last time. This has been Girl Dick with Ted Cruz. I'm Lilith Darling. She's Amanda Bonanza. Thank you for joining us. And please click like and subscribe on the YouTube page and follow us on all our social medias or regular medias or whatever medias. And we'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.